Seemed like a long warm-up.
Yeah, we did just 4K. It's another beautiful morning here in Kenya. It's the same every single day here, at least when I've ever been here. About 10, 11 degrees, no wind, clear sky. Yeah, so 4K. And then Eric can explain to you the workout because it's his, and he invited me here. So, what is the workout, Eric?
Oh yeah, 6 times 2K in marathon target, and 1K steady, like 4 minutes for the recovery. So not easy, but not too tough.
Eric, do we have the float at the end of the last one as well? Is it 6 spots? Start with hard or start with the float?
Start with the hard first.
Hard. So
yeah.
we end with the float as well?
Flow, yeah.
Okay, so 18K total.
Yes.
Yes. Around our goal marathon pace, which is about probably half marathon effort. Roughly. 320s. With the K float in about 4 minutes, so which should be a pace that we can recover at, because I remember a week and a half ago we did the 10K, 5K steady, 5K, and the 5K steady recovery was 347.
Yeah.
And I think we were actually recovering in that time. Like our heart rate was, at least mine, I think came down a little bit. So yes, 4 minutes should be fine to recover at.
Go, man! Go, Eddie!
Let's do it.
Here's that.
Yeah. Okay. Everyone ready to go?
So I do threshold sessions probably around about once a week during the marathon specific training block. I do normally incorporate some threshold training with VO2 max as well. So when I coach athletes, I actually tend to prescribe a lot of hybrid workouts where that will include maybe half or 2/3 of the session at threshold effort, and then it might finish with some VO2 max intervals that are a little bit faster than threshold, typically closer to 5K, 10K pace. Typically shorter intervals as well. But my priority and my preference during marathon blocks is to join people that are around the same level as me in terms of fitness and aiming for the same goals. And Eric, obviously, as spoken about in previous episodes, we're both very similar when it comes to threshold running. So I'm prioritizing sort of joining him as much as possible. So, I guess the other question people might ask is, how do we know if we're running at threshold or not? There's lots of ways to determine if you're running at threshold. The two most typical would be running to a set heart rate value. That the only way you'd know exactly where your threshold would be by doing some tests in a lab to understand where those threshold turning points are. I've done a sort of a scaled back one of those tests back in London in April. But the problem that I have, well, the situation that I face is that I don't wear a heart rate monitor, so I'm going on the heart rate values from the wristwatch, and they're normally very accurate, but never 100%, so I don't rely on them.
Just under 320s. It's good. Halfway.
Probably the rest of the way is mostly downhill.
Yes.
I'd say the hardest part of the workout's probably done.
Yeah,
oh, no.
So. Hardest part of the course, yeah. Every time we come to Moibo, we talk about the terrain.
But the other way to do it is via lactate testing. I haven't done too much of that either, but I do know that that's very accurate if you have help and you're making sure that the swab you're using is always very clean. Getting any sweat in those lactate swabs can often mean the values are slightly off.
Boys.
But I find, because I've been running for a very long time, I've done threshold training so often, I'm pretty good at knowing where that is purely by feel and knowing when I'm basically not able to really have a conversation anymore and it's very, very broken.
6:44. Yeah, that's starting to get pretty hard. Grab some carbs now. We're practicing.
Carbs in the form of gel or drink?
Both. Bit of gels and a bit of drink. I put 3 gels and a bit of water in here. Every rep feels uphill. Look, another one. Help. Yeah, don't put that in. I feel like I'm just complaining constantly on the camera.
I think if you're within a few seconds per kilometer, you've done what you need to do. It doesn't have to be exactly to the exact second per kilometer or to the exact heart rate value. I think if you're right around that point, there's definitely a small sort of zone there that if you're in, then you're getting the correct stimulus. And I think in this session we hit that perfectly. And I think also one way to judge if you're running it well is to see how you can recover following that interval.
Last
and
one,
because
boys,
we were forced
go!
here, or we on the program, we had to recover 1 kilometre as a float, not as a jog or as a walk. If we were unable to continue running at 4 minutes per kilometre, which is about 6:30, I think, per mile, 6:26, I think it is. If we were struggling to do that and we had to slow down to a jog or to a walk, then we're probably going a little bit over threshold.
Yoo-hoo! You got one more float to do?
Yeah.
Very good, yeah. Consistent, isn't it? You did the great job, Angus. You're great. Great guy. You're the man.
That's definitely going in.
Whoa. You are so fast.
I think it's always a good sign if you can, if it's starting to get hard, but then you're able to get straight into a 1K at like a pretty decent clip. So that last K was 3:56.
I think the first half is quite good, but what I say is unluckily the 4th and the 5th one is like much more uphill and just a bit downhill, so the pace is a bit drop. You need to have much more effort. It's faster than 320 effort to chase the pace, so it's so hard.
Yeah.
But it's all good, all good.
We were looking at your strikes, like perfectly symmetrical. You're like on one line, like 1 foot after another, 1 foot after another, very symmetrical. Your strikes are perfect.
Yeah?
Great.
There you go.
Mark filled some.
So hard.
Perfect foot strike, dude. You still have a cool down?
Eric forgot we had a cooldown, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how, because there's no way I'm finishing a workout like that. No, I'm stoked with that. That's really good. It's a really good workout for us.
This video series is sponsored by Soar Running, my favourite running apparel brand based out of the UK. You'll see everything I wear in this video series to be Soar Running. They produce the best singlets and the best tights and marathon shorts in the game. Top for Running, one of Europe's fastest growing running retail stores that stock all the top brands, all the latest models at the lowest prices. You can see them at the Berlin Marathon. They'll have a booth at the Expo. If you're looking for a new pair of racers or trainers, do not look past Top for Running and use the code SWEATELITE at checkout to score the lowest possible price. You can find the link in the description of this video. Precision Fuel and Hydration, look no further for the highest quality electrolytes, carbohydrate drink mix, and gels on the market. The caffeine gel is my absolute favorite, and you can use the code SWEATELITE-YT for YouTube, 15% off your order at Precision Fuel and Hydration. Pillar Performance, a sports micronutrition company that I've been working with for quite some time, that create the triple magnesium blend that has really improved my sleep. You can use the code SWEAT15 for 15% off your first order. HVMN's Ketone-IQ, a relatively new supplement used by many of the world's best endurance athletes, such as Sarah Hall, Cameron Worth, and others. You can use the code SWEATELITE to score a 20% off discount at checkout over at HVMN, and you can experience the magic of ketones yourself. Okay, so recapping the 5th week of training up here in Kenya. So we're now, as of today, 19 days till Berlin Marathon. So obviously the training, at least the hard specific training, comes to an end in about 10 days time before we taper. But recapping now, 3 weeks to go until 4 weeks to go, 21 days until 28 days to go. Very key week. Already repeated at least once that I think 3 weeks to go till sort of 8 weeks to go is that key block in the marathon specific period. So this week went really well, I think, except for the Sunday that went reasonably well, but I did have a little bit of a difficult time in the long run due to some asthma. Those that have watched previous series have known that I've struggled with that for a while. But other than the Sunday run, which still probably was an A- effort for me, the week went really well. And it was also the biggest week of volume that I've done up here in Kenya. So I managed 148K, which is 92 miles. Don't really count the Ks too much. I don't plan it beforehand, but it was the most amount of running that I've done since I've been up here, and probably the biggest volume week I've done in quite some time, probably about a year or maybe more. But it started on Monday. I took Sunday off after the 40K run on Saturday. On Monday, I did 2 runs, just a 16.2K in the morning and an 8K in the afternoon, both easy. So Tuesday was a 6x2K threshold workout that you've seen the video of with 1K float. Don't need to recap too much of that because you've seen all the splits, but pretty stoked on the session there, being able to do 18K at 3:32 per K average, and obviously with 6 1K floats in there. Exactly what we set out to do. So there, that session went perfectly. The run on Wednesday was done at a forest, which is really popular here. So you'll see some video footage. It's very technical. It's very hilly, but it's lots of sort of short, sharp hills. There's a waterfall in the middle of the forest that we got to. It's an absolutely beautiful place to run. Don't expect to do anything fast in the forest. It's very, very technical. I think doing essentially trail running or running on a really technical surface while you're training for, not only necessarily for a marathon, it could even be a 5K, 10K or a half marathon. I think it's not a bad idea due to a few reasons. I think when you're doing a whole lot of running at one particular pace, especially if it's always on a flat surface, you are at risk of overuse injuries, which is more specifically, say, Achilles tendinopathy or shin splints or hamstring tendinopathy, because you're doing the same motion over and over again. So I think doing something that's doing some running in a really technical environment where you're going up and down and you're turning and you're twisting and you're doing a whole lot of movement. If your heart rate's still at a really similar level to what you would be doing on an easy run, so this was the case here in the forest where we're doing a whole lot of really short, sharp climbing, descending, I do think that this can be really beneficial for training to avoid those overuse injuries, to do a little bit of movement in, exercising slightly different muscles, slightly different tendons and ligaments, and also just mentally. I think getting away from thinking and looking at pace all the time and heart rate all the time, I think that's also another benefit to it. So I kind of wish I'd done a little bit more of this running while I've been up here in the forest, and I'm going to try and get there for the next couple of weeks as well. But yeah, I have heard this before from other runners trying to substitute some sort of easy miles for running in really technical environments. And even if you're power walking up some certain sections that are really hilly, your heart rate's still going to be pretty high, so you're still sort of going to be getting a really similar aerobic effect. So yeah, I really do think that it's worth adding some more of this type of running into your training. Maybe it's just once a week, but I think that would be really helpful. On Wednesday afternoon, just another short run of 8K. On Thursday morning, I did the Africa Loop with Mark, 20.46K in 4:34 per K. Felt great on Thursday. On Friday, we had an interesting workout that I've not really done too much of this type of stuff in marathon specific periods before, but I have always thought it's a good idea, and it's to do something at even well faster than a 5K pace. So it was 10 300s down on a dirt track in Eldoret with Eric. We didn't take any footage because everyone that was down at the track was running, but we were doing them in about 240 to 245 per K pace. Now, at altitude on a dirt track, that's obviously pretty quick. It's about 64 to 66 seconds 400 pace, so it's very quick for us. But I think that when you're in the middle of marathon training and you're doing a whole lot of easy running and a lot of stuff at marathon specific, the marathon pace, or marathon effort, it's easy to sort of fall into a situation where anything slightly faster than marathon pace can all of a sudden feel very hard. It can raise your lactic levels, it can raise your heart rate very quickly. So I think touching on stuff that's much quicker than marathon pace, at least once a fortnight, ideally once a week, if you can, if it suits and it's able to be put into the program, I think it's never a bad idea. So I joined Eric for this 10 300s with 200 jog at the dirt track in Eldoret, and yeah, it was a great workout. We were having a 200 meter jog recovery in around 2 minutes, and yeah, they were sort of all around 47 to 51. I will say though that the track in Eldoret doesn't have marks on every 100 meters, so we were estimating where the mark was, but according to the GPS, it was always a little bit more than 300. And I know that the GPS around a track usually measures a little bit long. So I think it was pretty accurate, but all in all, measurements aren't super important to make specific there. But yeah, great session. On the Saturday morning, just a very short run, 11.58K, getting ready for the long run of the week, which was on Sunday.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
So this morning I'm doing a little bit of running with Ben is running. Hi guys. Randomly showed up the other day. I thought he was in London, but he's in Kenya. So going to do a couple of K with him, and then he's going to do his own run. Good to see you here, Ben.
It's good to see you, mate.
Yeah, thank you, man. Cheers for having me. What have you got on today, Ben is running?
What have we got today? Hanging on.
Should be good. We get tough at the end because we're going 20k out and 20k back, which means we lose about 60 meters and then come back up 60 meters, which at sea level isn't much, but at altitude stings, especially when you get tired. So yeah, stoked to have so many guys out here on Moyben Road at 6:20, all pumped up for a long run. It's like a little party out here at 6:25 in the morning.
Adjust the watches.
Adjust your watches. Are they adjusted? 3, 2, 1, go. Ben is running, cheating.
So this was supposed to be a 40k run for me. I was supposed to join Eric, where we were hoping to go around 340 to 345 per k, which is about 95% of marathon effort. So that's adjusted to altitude. So if we were at sea level, we probably would have been trying to run around 330, maybe 327 to 332, which would have been about 95% of goal marathon pace, assuming our goal marathon pace is 317, 318 per k. So add on an extra 10 to 12 seconds being at altitude and on this route that's not very flat, and we aim for 340, 345.
What's the update, Reem?
That's a second gel and water station for them, so we're doing strong. Matt had a little bit of a bad cough at mile 1, but he sucked it up and kept going.
Did the first K a little bit easy just to get warmed up, about 4 minutes, and then we got straight into it. And we averaged 342 all the way through until 30K, where I had a little bit of a difficult time. Actually, I had a difficult time from the first couple of kilometers, but it was sort of a little bit on and off with my asthma. I'm not going to go too much into that because I've complained about that in other video series, but I did have a really hard time around 27 to 29K with breathing, and I decided to drop out at 30K and take some medication to see if I can join back in shortly after. So Eric was looking great at 30K. I was struggling with the breathing a bit, pulled out, jumped in the car that was driving with us to give us drinks. I sat in the car for about 1.5 kilometers, which would have been about 6 minutes, I think, 6.5 minutes. Jumped back out and ran another 5K with Eric. I felt great physically. The 342, 341 per K pace felt really comfortable in the body, but my breathing was just restricted. So at 35K, I decided to finish up there. I was pretty disappointed at the time. I don't think I even spoke to Angus, who was filming the session, because I was a little bit disappointed and I was also having a hard time breathing. But in retrospect, to be able to do 35K at 340, the watch said 342, 343 per K, around there, and feel quite in control with the energy and with the sort of aerobic capacity, I was really happy with how this went. It was a bit of a shame the asthma got in the way, but doing everything I can post-run now to try and reduce the symptoms of asthma by taking a little bit more medication. But looking back, I've never been able to do a run like that at altitude, at least here in Kenya before any other marathons. Most of my 35K 40 runs have been closer to 350, 352 pace at the same effort. So, you know, great signs to me. Probably my best week of training here, despite the last run not going perfectly to plan. The rest of the week was great. As I mentioned, biggest volume I've done, 148K. So yeah, really happy with the week of training. Only really, yeah, week and a half, 2 weeks of hard work to go until we start tapering and get down to Berlin. Really excited for that. And yeah, thanks again for tuning in to episode number 5. We'll see you next week.
Mr. Is Running.
Hello.
How was your run this morning?
15 miles.
You've just started your sub 30-30 campaign.
Sub
Are you
30K.
on for 10K?
Yeah.
On YouTube, are you on track?
Yeah, I'm on track.
Good stuff.
15 miles today at 320 pace.
Nice.
Out here on Moyman Road. Yeah. Easy, light work.
How are you getting between here and the UK so quickly?
You filmed a video in the UK like 2 days ago, I think.
Yeah. We have ways.
Do you have a private jet?
Don't worry about that.
Okay.
Yeah, we've got ways.
YouTube is a mysterious beast.
Yeah. Mum at Is Running has left me some serious money and I'm using it.